This is episode 286 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Neil Henderson. Neil is an investor relations specialist and general partner at Nomad Capital. He's also the co-host of Truly Passive Income, which I've been on, had a great time, and a longtime real estate investor. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan. A pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's good to always switch the sides on the mic. And I want to start how you started, because I think you started in an unusual way. I think your mom helped you out by just talking about this little company called Airbnb. Am I right?
Yeah, I had never really considered real estate investing. I grew up the son of a bad landlord. My dad bought rental properties back in the 80s to shelter my mom's W-2 income from taxes back in a brief period where you could do that. And all I remember about investing in rental properties was going in summers in Las Vegas, going to Boulder City and like working on the roof of a rental property, and him having to deal with tenants and trash and toilets, and he absolutely hated it and couldn't unload them fast enough once the laws changed. I bought my first piece of real estate in 2005, a personal home in Las Vegas, Nevada, a condo it was a 1-year-old condo that had doubled in value in a year when I bought it. Always a great sign when you're buying real estate.
Yeah, you can never lose after that. You're just going to hit a home run every single time.
Every time. Ended up living in that for a period, eventually had to short sell it. But before that, I had bought a house in a nice neighborhood in Las Vegas at the bottom of the market around 2013.
Yeah.
And it had a little guest house at the front of this property. And for about 3 seconds, it was going to be my ultimate man cave until my wife said, "Oh, absolutely not. That's going to be where our guests come to stay when they come to town, specifically my in-laws and friends and family." So we appointed it like a really nice little, almost like a little hotel suite.
Yeah.
We put in a little mini bar, a little mini fridge, a coffee maker, having no concept of Airbnb, short-term rental, never considering it for that at all. And then on Christmas Day of 2013, we'd been living in that house for about 6 months. My mom hands me this article for this company called Airbnb. And she says, "You've got that little guest house now at the front of your property. You should maybe think about renting it out on this new company called Airbnb." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, Mom."
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of work. That company's going to fail.
Yeah, exactly. Jonathan, I don't know if Clint told you this story on when he was a guest. Clint got invited it's a very simple business model. I mean, you're renting people a box of air.
Yeah.
You don't have electricity in the unit. You don't want to do that because often people will unscrew a bulb and plug in a plug and they'll live there.
Yeah.
And all you're taking one big box and you're chopping it up in a bunch of little boxes, and you're able to charge a lot more than you could charge for the one big box.
Yeah.
And when people, it's month to month. When people move out, you come in there, you sweep it out, you clean it out, and you rent it to the next person for hopefully more. But Clint he got invited onto a webinar in China, in Shanghai, China. There was a guy who raises capital from Chinese investors and he deploys it into America. And he invited Clint to come on and talk to, I think it was like 2,000 Chinese investors.
Wow.
And it was a 60-minute presentation that took 3 hours because he had to talk and then translate and talk and then translate. And he said, once they got to the Q&A session, he said it became very clear that they all thought it was a scam, because they're like, hold on.
Yeah.
They're like, hold on a second. You're telling me that Americans have these big houses that they
and they
buy,
need another little
or
house.
they rent, and then they have too much stuff and they rent another place to store their extra stuff. And he would say, yeah, that's exactly what
I see their point though.
Totally. And we as Americans, I don't know why it is, but we're loath to let go of our stuff, and people, it just works. I think when I first got into storage, something like 9% of people utilize 9% of Americans utilize storage. Now it's up to like 11.5%.
Yeah.
And so when you talk to people sometimes like, oh, they're just building another self-storage facility. How many do they need? It's like, well, until they stop filling up.
It seems like you pretty much got into storage and that was it. Like you found a good match for what you liked. Is it still like that, or are you interested in other asset classes?
Well, it was a long road to storage. Like Eric was not a new self-storage investor, but he had not grown to the point where he could syndicate.
Mm,
And we stayed in touch. And I constantly encouraged him to syndicate. And he was always like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And he was smart. Like, I'll give him credit. He was smart. He proved the business model on his own with his own money. He
yeah.
bootstrapped it. He built one from the ground up. He did a conversion. He bought a conversion that was mismanaged and had been built wrong, and fixed it and increased the value. And we stayed in touch, and I always was looking for ways to add value. And I initially wasn't looking to partner with him. I made a go of it on self-storage on my own. But I was living in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a primary storage market. It's a big market,
Yeah.
big competitors, not a lot of opportunity for a newbie to like find a small facility that you can cut your teeth on and buy. Yeah. And there's no little tertiary market. Las Vegas is an island. You go out 25 miles, you're in the middle of the desert. So it's a little island, and there's not some little tertiary market where I can go out and buy a cheaper facility in a small town and cut my teeth on it.
Yeah.
So I beat my head up against the wall trying to buy a facility on my own for a long time, and drove all over the Southwest and Arizona and New Mexico. I went as far as New Mexico, and then started looking at, facilities in St. Louis and Ohio. And I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. I've
I'm going to get
strayed from the plan.
Exactly. And I'm going to get myself in trouble in a real hurry here. And, but I stayed in touch with Eric, came out again to Wilmington on Labor Day of 2019. And he had just bought a beachfront hotel, it wasn't a hotel. It was a beachfront property. It was like a 6-room, boutique hotel, bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
That was completely mismanaged and had been run down. And I saw that, and he told me what he was going to do with it. And I was like, man, and I loved it. And we went to the Carolina Beach, Curry Beach Market.
Yeah.
Which is just outside Wilmington's little island, barrier island outside Wilmington. And I was like, this seems like a short-term rental market, and might be an option for me to buy a place down here. And so I drove all over that weekend and drove all the way down to Oak Island and Holden Beach, and almost bought a beachfront duplex in Holden Beach for like $450,000.
Yeah.
And luckily I couldn't get a loan, and because it would have been Holden Beach is a sleepy market. There's only one restaurant on the island. There's no grocery store.
Yeah.
It's the kind of town that literally, and it's people that are there for 3 months in the summer, and then there's nobody.
Yeah.
But it just opened the thought of, all right, what if I bought a multifamily in Carolina Beach or somewhere in the area, and I lived in one side and rented out the other as a short-term rental, which is what I was already doing in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So I started looking into it, kept in touch with Eric, and he like was getting to the point where he felt like he was going to ready to syndicate. And I told him, listen, I'm going to move out here. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then in February, we were at the Best Ever conference in I keep forgetting the name of the town. It was outside Denver. It was up in the mountains. All I remember is I was hypoxic the entire time. But I was there with Eric and his son, Levi, who's his business partner, and had a great time hanging out with them and just geeking out about real estate and self-storage. And I remember I took them aside the last night we were there, and sort of took them out of the bar into this little stairwell area. And I said, hey, I very drunkenly told them, hey, I want to help you guys get to 100 million in assets under management. And it was the first time I'd sort of put a number out there and just said, now, Jonathan, 100 million in self-storage assets under management is a lot of storage.